Hey, thanks for stopping by. My name is Jeremy Hood. I'm the founder of Restaurant Results Partners, and today we're going to walk through some tactics that you can use to extract more money from your existing sales at your restaurant. And let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and dive in. And just so you know, these are some tactics that I've actually put in place when my family's own restaurants. We went from one location doing a little over $1 million a year to two locations nearing 3 million. About a third of that is catering and a little over 10% in profits. So these are tactics that if we can do it, anybody can do it. And as I mentioned, I grew up in my family's restaurant. I'm a licensed CPA in the state of Florida. When I came back to help the family business after school, we didn't have any marketing or anything in place. So I was able to kind of be the person to figure that out for our restaurant. And then obviously with my financial background, later on as our sales started to grow, we implemented some of these tactics to become more profitable. So this is a framework. You can use it for really any business or any restaurant. It doesn't matter what type of food you're selling, what type of customers you have. These are more like principles, not necessarily rules. And I really encourage you to think about systems and processes to sort of duplicate yourself in different areas of the restaurant. And the reason why I wanted to do this video is, as you know, restaurant margins, they're razor thin. This graph is showing a 5% net profit, and that's if you're, that's probably not the normal. Right away, food and labor, that's going to be 60 to 65% of your cost. Again, if you're doing well, I've seen 70, 75%. And then there's all kinds of other things, utilities, rent, paper, they all add up very quickly. So you really have to run your restaurant by the numbers to make sure you're making a profit and rewarding yourself for all your hard work. The first thing that we're going to talk about is using a budget. It sounds simple enough, but not a lot of people do it. There's a reason why all these corporate entities, these bigger chain restaurants, they're making 10 to 15% at the bottom of the line, and that's because they're running the restaurant with a budget. It doesn't have to be complicated either. We've spent money before on software that does all this for you, but as you can see, I made this Google Sheet. If you want a copy of it, just send me an email. I'll send it to you for free. But it's super simple. It tracks each week. Our week starts on a Sunday. Some of you might start on a Monday. But, I have a virtual assistant that fills this out. You could have an hourly manager fill it out, or you could fill it out yourself, if you want to be really on top of it. But she's going to add projected sales for the week with any caterings that we might have. You can see that we've got a couple caterings on this day. She's got some numbers that she's adding to the base sales for that day. What a typical Monday looks like, or Tuesday. You could probably guess your sales within a couple $1,000s each week. We're going to plug in last year's sales to see how we're tracking there. And then as each day comes in, we're going to fill it out so we can see. And so there's going to be a variance. And then I like to track transactions because, this kind of tells you how many people are coming in the door. As you can see, our sales are up a good bit, but transactions are only up a little bit. They very easily could have been down a couple points. And, all that shows us is that our average ticket is higher. So sales are higher because our prices have gone up, or we're selling maybe more catering packages this week, not necessarily because there's a lot more people coming in the door. So, just another data point to track. And at the very top of the sheet, you can put in your food cost and labor cost goals, and it's going to give you a budgeted hours for the day based on your average hourly wage. So you can see, I think we need to adjust this, but compared to the actual hours, we're way over budget. So that tells me that there's probably something either going on up top, or we could definitely shave some hours off of this. So as you fill it in, it has a running total of labor costs for the week. And then it gives you a budget as well. You can see if I delete these, the budget goes up. So it's going to give you a budget based on your food cost goal and the estimated sales. And then as you fill in your invoices that you've spent money on throughout the week, that budget goes down and it's going to give you a running total. So that's it. You basically copy and paste this down for each new week. It's super simple. It's online. Anyone can access it who you want to access it. So if you're not using a budget, give me a shout. I'll send you that one. You can get started right away. Second thing that's been the biggest help for us, my dad, there's certain things that he never wants to run out of, but there's a lot of things that you can just run out of. Don't worry, like your customers will order something else. Like, don't order a whole case of grape jelly when you've also got strawberry jelly and mixed jelly on the table. Like they'll be okay with that until you really need to order some jelly. So just like little things like that, running down your inventory. Even with some of your bigger protein items, like we're a barbecue place, so if we have 10 cases of ribs, we might not notice a case missing, but if we've only got 3 that needs to last for the next couple of days and one goes missing, like, you better believe we'll notice that. So the best way in my experience to do that is to really organize your inventory and your order guide. So our food vendor is sending us their order guide. It's not anywhere close to the order that we needed to. You should be able to walk from one end of your restaurant to the other without having to go back and forth and just go down the line on your order guide. So what I like to do is get their order guide and put it in a spreadsheet so we can go through it one time and then sort it in order that we need it. So then you can see each section's got inside freezer, outside freezer. Obviously, the different areas of your restaurant will be called something else. But now we can go down the line where everything is supposed to be. And this also helps train your staff, like where to put things when they're receiving an order. You can also train them to go and do the counts for everything. So you could just go through and fill out the order as needed. But having an organized inventory and order guide and doing inventory frequently will help you lower your food costs for sure. All right, so these are all kind of things that help with that budget. And this next thing, if you don't have access to an hourly sales report from your POS, then I would suggest either asking them to add that or consider switching to a new POS system. We use one called Order Counter. They're a little bit smaller, but they're in about 3,000 restaurants. They've been really good for us. There's a ton of reports that you can use. They're super flexible. They've got online ordering, all the bells and whistles. So this is a report that you can see, and I just did it for the past week because I didn't want to have a huge list, but for each hour you can see the total sales and the total number of transactions, which is really what I need to see to see like what the productivity is with the staff and how many staff you might need. So obviously when you open, you might need a couple extra hands to get stuff ready for the day, but you can see that first hour is definitely not the busiest. And then the 8 and 9 o'clock hour, okay, we're picking up to $300 hours with a little over 20 transactions. Those are going to be the busier breakfast hours. 10 o'clock, it's kind of in between breakfast and lunch. It's slowing down. And then it starts picking up again at 11. So you can see now it's like, okay, $500 hours, $1,000 hours. There's some caterings in here that are probably skewing those numbers. So that's also something to think about if you're doing catering. But whether it's skewing the numbers or not, it's still food that has to go out. So you still might need an extra hand getting that ready. So that's why it's also important to look at the number of transactions. So it's like 24 transactions. Okay, how many people do you need to handle 24 transactions in an hour? Then you can see, it starts to slow down accordingly to the off hours, 2 to 3 o'clock. This should be a time where your day shift is gone or people are getting breaks in. There's definitely not enough sales there to support like full-time staff. And then as you're getting ready for the nighttime again, it starts picking back up. So an hourly sales report is just super important to help you with the schedule. You can see where you really need your staff, where you need to trim back. and just really fine tune that throughout the day. And I know it seems like a lot of like a little nitpicky stuff, but it all adds up, I promise you. All right. So this next tactic is something that we took a little while before it took us a little while to kind of buy in, but once we did, it was well worth it. You might see several other like restaurant coaches talking about a semi-monthly payroll versus bi-weekly, and I'll just tell you, the consistency it provides, it's well worth it. So instead of paying your employees every 2 weeks, you're only going to pay them twice a month, and every time you run payroll, there's a cost involved. So whether you're paying QuickBooks and you're doing it yourself, or you're paying like a company like Paychex or ADP, every time you run payroll, there's a cost involved, your time and an actual physical cost. So just going from 26 pay periods a year to 24, you're going to save a little bit of money. But the biggest thing that it does, in my experience, is just spread out your cash flow, because when you're on a bi-weekly payroll pay system, 2 times a year, you're going to have 3 pay periods in a month. And what happens every time you hit that? Your cash flow is like super negative. You're always, trying to figure out how you're going to make payroll. So what this does is it spreads that third month over that third pay period in those 2 months over the other 10 months. So each payroll will be a little bit higher, but you're not going to have those huge swings in those 2 months. And I'll just to kind of show you a little bit more about what it looks like. So there's 2 pay periods in the month. It's the 1st to the 15th, and then the 16th to the last day of the month. So that second pay period, it could be 14 days, like in February, it's going to be 16th to the 28th or the 29th, or it could be 15 days if it was April, like 16th to the 30th, and then obviously it could be 16 days on the months that have 31 days. So first period is always 15 days, and then that second period can vary a little bit. So on that first pay period, the 1st to the 15th, we pay on the 20th. If the 20th is a weekend or a Monday holiday, it's going to be that Friday before. And then the 16th through the end of the month, we're going to pay on the 5th. Again, if that 5th is a weekend or a holiday Monday, it's going to be the Friday before. So when you switch to semi-monthly payroll, you still need to check for overtime, and we do that for each week that ends in the pay period. So for this example, the week ending on the 6th ended and the 13th. So, we would check for overtime in these 2 weeks, but then in the next pay period, we would check for overtime on the week ending the 20th and 27th. Sometimes you will have 3 weeks that end in the pay period. If the Saturday, in this example, if the week ended on a Saturday and it was the 1st, you probably have the 1st, the 8th, and the 15th. So a couple times a year, you will have 3 weeks that you have to check for overtime. And if you're looking to switch to this, there's never really like a super easy way. You just need to pick a date to start, and maybe prepay some of your staff a couple extra hours to make that transition a little bit smoother. But I'm sure your CPA or your bookkeeper could help you out with that. All right. So there's a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but I would highly recommend you take a peek at that. It's been super helpful. Really, thinking about business in a traditional manner, it's what are our sales, what are our expenses, and what's left over, right? Well, he really encourages you to think about, taking your sales, taking your profits out of that, what you want to pay yourself, and then paying what's left over. It's not always, it's easier said than done for sure, but we did this. It's kind of like Dave Ramsey's envelope system for business, but we have 4 different bank accounts. So, we're taking out our sales tax each month, or the way he says to do it is like on the 10th and the 25th, 2 times a month, you're putting all the money that comes in for your sales into one account. and then the 10th and the 25th, you're distributing it to your envelopes of where you need to pay bills. So twice a month, we're taking money out for sales tax, other expenses, profits, and owner's compensation. And, if you can afford it, he really just encourages you to pay yourself 10% and leaving 10% for the business. So it really forces you to go through your expenses and think about, do I really need this? Or do I really need, when can I afford to pay this? I'm not going to go too deep into it because, he explains it much better than I can in the book. But as you're kind of working through these changes, when you're feeling to the point where you're ready to take it to the next level, definitely check out Profit First. Another somewhat easy, simple, it's not easy to implement way to improve your cash flow. If you're doing catering, a lot of catering like we are, you might have people that want to pay you, bigger organizations that want to pay you with terms like net 30 days or whatever. I'm sure a lot of your vendors allow you to pay with certain terms. So the best thing that you can do to improve your cash flow is to collect that money faster or stretch out those bills longer. So with accounts payable, when I first came back and I was helping out my dad, there would be certain vendors that he would just pay right away as soon as we got the bill, even though on the invoice it said we had 30 days to pay it. So what do? Wait those 30 days to pay it. Give yourself some time to build up some cash in the bank account. And then with accounts receivable, we've got a large university in our town that, they won't pay any faster than that 30 days, but sometimes because it's such a big organization, the invoices slip through the cracks. So, as soon as that 30 days hits, if we haven't received the payment, we're like, hey, we're checking on it, we're following up, we're calling, we're emailing. So those people that owe you money, you want to try to get that faster. Maybe you offer them a discount if they pay within 10 days or something like that. And then the opposite with your accounts payable, you might be able to get a discount if you pay faster. So if you've got enough cash on hand, maybe it's worth it to take advantage of a prepay or a quick pay discount to drop your food costs or whatever that might be. So something to think about. This last thing, dual pricing, you may have heard of it. Basically, there was some legislation that came out a couple years ago that allows you to add on a fee to people that pay with credit cards. So basically, the way it works is your menu prices that are on your menu board or your printed menus, those are cash prices, and anyone who pays with a card, there'll be a small fee added to that. And I know when we first thought about doing this, we were kind of concerned about how customers would react, but post-COVID, we were trying anything that we could do to try to keep our profits up because inflation was going crazy. So we finally just did it, and we said, what, we're taking all the risk, we're providing jobs to 40, 45 people, so why not? And we really only had a handful of people complain about it, but I'll just show you, this is the effect. I mean, overnight, this is our credit card fees. So, $50 to $100 now a month, where we were paying a little over around $3,000 a month before. So this is overnight. If you can't use an extra $35,000, well, then congratulations. But it was huge for us. It helped us, give out raises to our staff, keep our prices down. So this is one thing that I know a lot of people aren't doing, but it seems like more and more are headed that way. And if you need help switching, we've got a good relationship with our POS provider. If you're doing enough volume, they'll even give you a new POS system for free. So that's all I've got. I hope you found some value. Even if you just took one thing away from this, then I'll be pumped. But if you need any help, that's my email. That's my personal phone number. Give me a call. Shoot me a text. And love to chat with you.